Well, welcome to Together We Serve TV show. It is Friday. It is April 12th. We're already 3-4 months into the year. Crazy. But I'm excited for my guest today because we talk about customer service all the time, but we don't talk about how we could take care of the customer and how we can work and collaborate together and actually grow your business through your customers, which to me is so awesome. That's what I do, and I love for other people to do. I want you to welcome to my show, Jason with CXFormula. Jason, welcome.
What's up, Steve? How are you, buddy?
Great. So excited to have you on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what I was saying about customers and what you work with the business and their customers and how you help them.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So first, thanks for having me on the show. Super excited. Been looking forward to this conversation. I think what's so funny to me as we think about our lives as relationships, we spend so much time in the beginning of a relationship nurturing and loving on people. We start a new dating relationship and what have you. And then once we get comfortable, we start taking it for granted. And that's really what happens in our personal lives, unfortunately, and it's what happens in our business lives. And what we've been doing for the last 20 plus years is working with businesses and helping them really learn how to help their customers get big results, how to focus and really nurture that relationship throughout the entire thing. So it's not just focusing on the strangers and getting them to say yes to you. It's once they do say yes to you, how do we make it as frictionless, as smooth, as effortless and seamless as possible so that they get the results they want, so that they achieve what they wanted to achieve, so that they have a good time and a good experience doing it, so much so that they want to tell everybody that they can about it, that they actually, instead of just giving you great word of mouth, they want to actually go out there and recruit people on your behalf. And that's what we do. That's what we have a formula to help people do. And I just think it's more important today than it ever has been.
So it's relationship marketing in a sense. I've heard that phrase batted about. Is that kind of what you're doing?
I mean, I think it's relationship building. It's not just the marketing of it, right? There's for sure the marketing, but it's actually committing to a relationship and being in one that's bi-directional, right? So it's about how do we become better, have a better relationship and become better, partners with our customers and helping them get those results. Yeah.
So staying away from, hey, I just sold Steve. Okay, who's our next customer? Okay, I sold Jason.
It makes sense, right? Because we always have to feed the beast. We're growing our business. Yeah. We need more customers. We got to fill the funnel. We got to get more people in. So it's awesome, Steve, congratulations. Okay, who's next, right? And so that's what, actually, it's not just what, it makes sense on some level. It's what people teach us to do, right? Yeah. All the gurus and all the marketers and everybody out there, we're teaching how to bring more people in. Right? But there's very few that are talking about and helping teach us how to keep them in, how to get them those results, and to help them really become word of mouth. I mean, most of us realize that word of mouth is how we choose most things. What restaurant should we go to? Hey, there's this great place over there. Or you go online to find something on Amazon. You're oh, let's look, there's 4 million 5-star reviews or what have you, right? That's what word of mouth is. We all rely on it. What if you had a system that almost guaranteed, that you have amazing word of mouth all the time? That's what we try and help people do.
I really like it because we forget to tell our customers to talk about us. Hey, yeah. Jason did a great job. Hey, you got to talk to Jason. Now, some people do, but not everybody, right?
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, listen, you are an amazing relationship marketer, Steve. Better than almost anybody I've ever met, right? And anybody watching the show knows that, and they love you for that, and they appreciate that, right? But you think about that because, when we have these interactions, we go deep, we spend time, we get to know each other, and you get to learn the nuance, and you want to help people. So you're helping your guests on your shows and people that you meet do that. In most of our businesses, here's the thing: people talk about things that are remarkable, right? And so remarkable can go two ways. It can be really bad, so we talk about it, or it can be really good, so we talk about it. But everything in between, we don't talk about. And so as you start to think about what you're hearing out there in the world, if it's really crappy, people talk about it. They tell you, I had the worst day, I had the worst flight, I had the worst experience, or this person blew my mind, they were so amazing. But the messy middle doesn't matter. So you can be doing everything well and nobody's going to talk about you. So we start to get people to think about what if you want to people to talk about you, you have to be talk aboutable. And so what do we want to do that helps people have moments that matter, moments that inspire them, that create this compulsion that they just want to share what you did, because they know not only is it helping you and they're giving back, but they know it's helping other people also. So they're doing good in the world.
I love that. It just happened yesterday. I was at a restaurant and the kid was brand new waiter and 6 months in, and he did a really good job. And I told him that. I said, get your manager. And he told the manager, hey, this is a good one of the few. He came up and the manager said, I know this, he kind of said, what's up? And then the waiter came back because I told him it was a good one. I'm like, why'd you do that? He goes, because most of the time they want to talk to him because something bad happened.
Of course, right?
Right.
Yeah. And that's the interesting thing. Like if you're, as we all want to grow our businesses today, right? We have to, and there's so much competition. And like what I see most people doing, it's a race to the bottom. Let me lower my price. Let me add some more bonuses. Let me overload and try and put more and more on to get you to say yes. What if the fact of the matter was that you kind of knew coming into a new business that you were going to get results because everybody else is, and they're all talking about it because they're talking about how amazing it was. And everything that you do, every step along that path feels good. It feels welcoming. It feels right? That's interesting. So, I don't want to steer the direction of this conversation.
Go for it. No, I love it.
But I want to just say, like, I learned how to do this in the most ridiculous way possible. Like it doesn't, like, people are like, wait, why? And so this started for me back in my history. I was actually in theater. Right. So I was a lighting guy, like I was a rock and roll roadie and a theatrical lighting designer and programmer and technician. And I used to do shows. Right. And so when you go out with a rock and roll show, it's glamorous. It sounds amazing. And it was for a minute. And then it's like grueling and exhausting and whatever, but it's awesome. But what you realize is that audience, they get there early and they start like singing the songs in the parking lot and they're tailgating. And then they come into the stadium. And when the show starts, they all erupt and like clockwork, whether you're in a different city or the same city with a different audience each night, they have the same reaction at the same moment. Theater, same way. You come in, the lights go down, everyone gets quiet, and they laugh at the same exact moment. They cry at the same exact moment. They jump to their feet in applause at the same exact moment. It's not an accident. It's actually done by design. And so being on the production team, I was involved in the whole staging of the show. So that we'd get the script, we'd have the playwright or the directors and the stage managers and the choreographers, all these people, the designers, all the people in the room, and we'd be figuring out what do we want the audience to feel at each moment? How are we going to bring this story to life so that the audience transforms? They feel something different. They were moved from when they started to when the show ended. And we decided these things. We want them to feel sad here. We want them to be excited. And the script guided them. And we did things with sets and lights and costumes and props and interactions and whatever. And by gosh darn it, at the end, when we saw it actually happening, what we had designed actually happened night after night after night. And so I started thinking, I remember where I was sitting. I remember the day. I started thinking, this is pretty wild. Like, could you do this like on demand? Like, could you do this for a business? Could you do this in other areas of life other than on stage and theater? And you can, right? And maybe it sounds manipulative, and I guess you could use this for evil, not good. But if you use it for good, not evil, and you really think about my customer, what is that standing ovation? What do I want that result to be? What do I want them to tell everybody about their experience? And then we can really reverse engineer and script all of the things that have to happen for them to actually have those moments where they have those feelings. They have the win. They feel the confidence building because they're actually making progress. They feel the excitement build because they're seeing results happen. They start to whatever they want to do, whether it's like lose weight, become more flexible, learn how to play an instrument, like whatever your business is, right? Whatever you do, they start to be able to do more of it. And when they get to the end, they have accomplished this goal. They feel super confident, super great, and super grateful because you were able to help them. Your process helped them do that. Like, so what our whole business is around this formula. We call it the Kinetic Customer Formula. And it's about creating this, it's an operating system that allows you to deliver those kind of like systematic positive results and engagement for your customers with whatever audience, whatever city you're in, whatever night you're doing the show, night after night after night. Because what happens at that point is they don't want to just tell other people about it. They want to sell them on your business. They recruit. They get so engaged and so excited about what you're doing and how you've helped them, they can't help themselves. And like that is just the business you need to be in today. That's how you succeed. That's how you scale.
Yeah. Uniqueness is important because there's so many business coach, insurance agent, lawyer, there's so many. And entrepreneurs are only growing every day, more and more entrepreneurs. So what I'm hearing, Jason, which excites me when I first met you on my podcast, was it's really simple. It's just taking the action of learning how to do it and do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's simple, but it's not easy. Right. So, yeah. So and really, I may have said this when we talked on the podcast. It's like, I have a really good friend. Her name is Ann Wilson. She teaches people finances and stuff. And she always says, boring is beautiful. Right. And she's talking about investing and stuff. But I think also the idea, like in business, we almost get bored when it becomes simple. And when we simplify the journey for the customers, right, it becomes one of those like boring is beautiful moments. Like we add so much extra and we add what we call friction. So we add lots of friction and obstacles and things in the way. And often many of us entrepreneurs, we do it out of we think we're doing the right thing. We do it out of love and kindness. We think we're helping, but we're actually making it a little more difficult. Or even worse, we think we're making it easier for our team and maybe more profitable, and we're making it worse for our customers, so it's harder for them, right? So it's really important to keep it as simple as you can.
Well, I've got to say this, and I'm going to let the group say this. Let me here it comes. I wasn't ever a cheerleader. I was on the field all the time. But that is, I like how you said that, because you're right. We got this feature. Let's make it more robust, but it becomes more complex. And then our customer just falls away because it's like, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, we're in danger of that all the time, right? Like, and that's not to say we shouldn't have anything that's more robust in our business, right? But we've got to our moments, and we've got to really look at it through the lens, through the eyes of our customer, right? And so one of the biggest epiphanies that people have when they work with us is they really learn how to get into the shoes of their customer, put on their customer's glasses, and see the experience through the eyes of the customer. And that's a really important thing. So like, if you take nothing else away from this conversation, anybody that's listening, like really think about, how do you get inside the mind, the eyes, the shoes of your customer and walk the walk that they walk in their shoes and see what happens. Because it's different. It's really different than what we perceive from the perspective of the company.
After the break, we'll talk more about the CX formula so you can get in a little more detail so people can understand. But what I'm hearing is businesses need to know their customer better, not just know Steve Ramona uses my CRM, but how does he use it? What does he run it? Am I following the right path there?
100%, right? And so we all have different, prototypical customers or avatars or personas or whatever you like to use, whatever term you use. And I think I know there's a lot of people that teach like how to understand your persona, how to understand your avatar. The way we do it, again, my background in theater, we kind of bring in is infused through our program. It's like, imagine that you're going to play a character on stage. You're Matthew McConaughey, and now you're in this film, and you have to become a different person. How does he actually figure out how to really understand how that person, that new character, would act, would move, would think? What would they have for breakfast, right? You have to get into the mind of that new persona and then believably portray it. And so we use kind of like stagecraft, if you will, to kind of get into the mindset of the customer. And then as you do that, once you get it in the initial stage, then as you go through our program, what we do is we help you walk the walk through the journey that they go on as that customer. So once you're in character, we want you to stay in character and experience it. What ends up happening is you understand your customers better than they understand themselves. And the difference then is that not only are you able to be more empathetic and sympathetic to the customer, but you're able to even articulate things, like I said before, with clarity that they feel understood. And when they start really feeling understood and supported, their guard comes down, the relationship expands, the trust expands, and their commitment to winning becomes bigger. And so it all works together, because as we know who they are, we understand them, we have empathy, our team starts to love on them a little more because they actually care more about them. And as we start to get rid of the friction, and what we do, add momentum boosters along the way to help them get a little extra oomph to kind of keep going, all of a sudden this system delivers those results consistently. And that's what it is. So like you said, it's very astute. It's about the depth of knowledge and understanding and empathy and sympathy of that customer, because once you know them that well, the feeling of being understood, held, having a safe container space, all of those things just expand so beautifully that it allows amazing things to happen.
Yeah, loving your customer. I love the word use, love in business.
Of
That's what
course.
you're saying. Why not? I mean, it's not love, it's intimate love. And I talk about it's the Greek love, and I got to find that word of it's like I love you as a brother. It's not,
Yeah.
it's so important. Now, what I'm hearing, I want to go back to the stage real quick. So when you set up before the show's played, you know what your audience is already, in a sense?
Yeah. I mean, of course,
Interesting.
so everything. So think about theater, whether you know it well, or you just kind of gone and seen a show or whatever,
Yeah.
or think about a film, right? Everything is in the film is to the lens. Like, we're thinking about the audience watching. So everything is set up for the audience's perspective. In theater, everything is set up for the audience's perspective. In business, we fall short of that.
Yeah.
We think about it in bits and spurts and whatever. We think we know our avatar. Okay, it's a 25-year-old female that wants to blah 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 blah, and she's got 1.2 children, and she's got a weight picket fence, and she makes $13,000 whatever. Like, that's what we think about for avatar. But when we start to really think about what is her challenges, what's moving her, what's keeping her up at night, and like as she's coming into our world, what's all the stuff that happened that is not even allowing her to hear our message when we're sharing it, right? For example. And so in the theater, we know that we've got to quiet down the noise from the day. So the music starts, the lights fade, we start to ease people into it, and then we open up and we start to tell the story in different ways, and we capture their attention, and we're taking them on that journey. You have to do the same darn thing in your business. But in theater, it's all about the audience. Like, without the audience, there's nothing else. And in our business, it's all about the customer, but we lose sight of that. We start thinking about, how are we going to do it? Is our tech going to work? Is this going to happen? How do we set up the store? Whatever it is. And we lose sight of that end user and their perspective. And so when we bring that back into sharp focus, things start to get a little bit easier to see the correlations between the friction and why it's actually making it harder. And I say this to everybody, we make it too hard for our customers to win. We just make it too hard. And so the easier we can make it, the more effortless we can make it for our customers to have success, remove the obstacles from their path, the more likely they are to win. And that's really what we want. So what I want you to love on your customers, but I want you to obsess over them getting the results they came for. That's what I want.
Phrase you said there is capture audience that resonated with me.
Yeah.
You're just saying capture your customers.
100%.
Bring them in.
Yep.
So I'm thinking customer service is very important. You have lacking customer service. You're not doing this, correct? Talk about how important customer service is.
Yeah, I mean, customer service is one of the many facets that make all this happen. Like, one of the things that, gets very frustrating is, when something's not going right and someone needs help, right? Customer service, what would it be like if your customer service department was just receiving gratitude calls all day? Like, what would happen in your business and your life? How cool would your team feel every day if every call that came into the call center was to thank them for a job well done? I ask people, think big like that. Like, what would that look like, right? How could we do that? Like, are there things that we could do that would be so amazing that people would actually call in and just thank us because it was so cool? Like, it's possible to do that. But what happens is there's problems. And so most often, like call centers, customer service centers, the metrics for success, the key performance indicators are how many tickets we've closed, right? And so it's a metric about like speed and efficiency. And I understand that from one perspective. But from the customer's perspective, what if it was about, I have happy customers per minute, happy customers per hour? That's not the metric. But when you switch the metric to being about making the customer happy versus closing a ticket, because a ticket being closed doesn't mean the customer's happy, right? And so like what things that get measured get done. And so we have to have the right metrics and the right measurements and the right goals in that so that we can actually make those things happen. So to me, customer service is a sales function. It's not a support function, right? We're selling them more on the company. Yes, maybe they're not writing another check right now, but they might be writing a check later. They might be referring another customer later. And so our goal is to make them happy. Now, how do we do that? We're doing it by solving their problem for sure, but the result is the happy customer, not the problem solved. And just the shift in that nuance of thinking about it is massive in the impact that it has both on the employee and on that customer. And so all of our clients, we start turning their customer support, customer service departments into customer delight centers, right? And so like, how do we actually delight the customer? And how do we actually have them do proactive outreach? So instead of just waiting for cranky calls, like when people buy a new product, whatever, what if they were able to do outreach and welcome them and congratulate them and see if they can help or do some configuration or whatever? Yeah. Well, most people are like, well, I don't have enough time. I need 1,000 more people. Well, maybe we could get to that point where we can shift it and we can start to use it as a proactive, positive, outreach versus a reactive, And so I think it's about thinking about those things, right? And really understanding, like I said, the metrics. What is our goal? And my goal with customer service has always been delighted customers.
Yeah, it's the winner. Nobody can argue. That's 100% guarantee for increase in business. How much we don't know. And interesting, I'm thinking of the show Undercover Boss, and it's all prefaced on somebody with bad customer service or a bad customer, and everybody, it was a high viewed show because of that. I'm just thinking, can you imagine how, Undercover Boss, they come in and every day he came in, everybody's like, this is the greatest restaurant in the world. It's the greatest restaurant, and there's no bad things.
Well,
that would be a great show.
Yeah, they wouldn't have a show.
yeah, they wouldn't put it on air.
You're right. It would be a better situation. Yeah. And so the thing that I love about Undercover Boss, right? So we go out, one of the services, our highest end service, and we only take a couple clients on a year that we work like done for you kind of experience, but we go out and we secret shop their experience, their business, right? And like the most unbelievable things are uncovered. And when we go back and we share it with the owners and the leadership teams and what have you, they've never done it themselves. They've not shopped their own experience. They don't know what's going on or not going on. And, there's a great story I'm reminded of. So this is going back many years, right? I live in New Jersey, as you know, right? And so there's a chain of electronics retailers. They're kind of like a Best Buy, if you will, right? But they're a local chain. I think they have, at the time, maybe they had 7 or 8 stores. And so they had brought us in to help them with their in-store experience. And so I went out with a couple of my guys and we secretly shopped the stores. And it was the stereotypical horrible scenario, right? So you walk up to the store and in the window, like it's all glass in a big parking lot, and there's TVs hanging, like showing different channels and whatever. And like every third TV's out. There's wires dangling in the wrong way. When you open the door and you walk in, they had like carpet squares with like stained, splotchy carpet, and like one was missing. It was just like, ugh, And so you then as you walk in, a bunch of young kids in suits that were like too big for them, that looked they were wearing their grandfather's suit, come up and like attack you like a vulture in the front door. How can I help you? And as you go through it to secret shop it, all they're trying to do is get you to buy more stuff. It's like very forced upsells, right, through the entire experience. It was the most consistent experience I've seen. Every store was as disgusting as the next, right? And so it was really disturbing. Now, very easy to try and fix something like that because there's like so many problems you can start to clean it up. But so anyway, a couple of days later, I was invited to the headquarters, and the CEO of the company was there, and he had all of his managers from the stores and assistant managers. So there's like 40 people in the room, and I was kind of sitting off to the side, and he did this kind of whole rah thing. He's like, "All right, I'm gonna have introduce you to Jason Friedman," and they saw me, and they all went because they like saw me in the stores like a couple of days earlier, and they were like, "Oh my god!"
Oh shoot!
Yeah, like there was like the panic set in, and So what this guy, the CEO, his mantra was, we are the Nordstrom of consumer electronics. We are the Nordstrom of, like Wolf of Wall Street screaming at the front of the room, like we are the Nordstrom of, consumer electronics. And like, that's the brand that he wanted. Now, I don't know if you're a Nordstrom shopper, but the general understanding of Nordstrom is that it's this upscale kind of high-end experience. There's some great stories about how you bring in a pair of shoes that are worn, they'll take them back and exchange them. Like the service level is like beyond what you would imagine, right? Yep. And so I'm like, fascinated by this as I'm standing there. So I get introduced, I go up to the front of the room, and I said, hey, everybody, I'm Jason. I see a bunch of surprised faces. I know I met a bunch of you over the last couple of days. I said, before we get into anything, I have one question. Just want to show of hands. How many people in this room have ever been to a Nordstrom? Not one hand went up in the room. So the entire premise, the entire brand identity of this was about being this Nordstrom, whatever that meant, of consumer electronics. Not one of these people knew what that meant. It had no meaning. And when you walked in the store, there was nothing to back that up, right? And so, I think about like all of the businesses out there, like and they thought they really, like this CEO really believed that they had a great business. And if you look at the numbers, they were making sales, right? They had millions and millions of dollars of sales. They were growing, but not profitably. And people were appalled by the store. And so they were growing by brute force and a race to the bottom of discounting, not by creating people who want to come back a second time. And I would almost guarantee you that most people, the only reason they step in the store a second time is to return something, not to buy another thing. Yeah. And so like, as you start to think about that, what is the brand that you're looking for? What is the experience? And how do you share what that looks like, what that feels like? He had a great idea. If they were the Nordstrom of consumer electronics, that would have been awesome. But he never gave it a chance because nobody knew what that even meant. And so I think about that a lot, like the level of service. Like we assume that people understand, like our employees understand when we think, oh, we want to create this amazing customer service. We assume that that means something to people. And I promise you, in almost everybody's business who's listening to this today, if you ask somebody what great customer service is that works for you and your team, you will likely have very different perspectives and it won't be exactly what you think. And so if you're thinking about this in your business, like we're talking about customer service, you need to, if you decide you want to be the Nordstrom of, or the Disney of, or the Apple of, or the Zappos of, or the Jason of, it doesn't matter. You need to give that a real definition and stories and illustrations and ways that your team knows what that actually means. What does it look like to deliver that from the execution side? And more importantly, what does it look like on the customer side so that you can identify when you've been successful? And that is like one of the biggest misses I see in customer service today.
That's such a great story because that's not alone. I'm sure you've seen other, maybe not as bad, but to a certain level like that, thinking they are. Yeah, and it sounds like messaging is so important, not only for the employees, your customers as well.
100%, both ways.
Messaging. Okay, that was a mouthful. So I'm going to give Jason a break here because he is loaded with some great information. We'll come back in a couple minutes. We're both going to drink of water and we'll continue this incredible conversation. See you guys all in a couple minutes.
Welcome to our show. Together we serve. Welcome to our show. Sit back and enjoy. We will talk with people about
Welcome back, everybody, to Together We Serve. And we just had an incredible first segment. I want to start a business now. You got me so fired up using your formula. But
Good.
what I like about this too, anybody's got a customer, which is probably every business or almost every business, can use this.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're online, offline, brick and mortar, retail, hospital, doctor, museum, theme park, restaurant, nightclub. I mean, it doesn't matter. Whatever you got. It is the same result. We all have customers. We all have employees too. Incidentally, all of this formula works the same for the employee experience, the employee journey, maintaining employees, attracting the best employees. It's front stage. We talk about everything that touches our customers, and backstage, everything behind the scenes that supports that, our team and the infrastructure and the systems. Our systems, we cover all of that in our program and how to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about theater. You're right. If the camera guy, the light guy, the guy that lifts the screen, whatever those names, if they're not in the mission of the play, like in the mission, they've got to go.
Yeah, it doesn't work, right? And the funny thing about theater, and this is also something that we talk about. Like in our businesses, we lose people most often in transitions. Right. So it can be in the transition from your website to a sales call. It could be in the transition from an online purchase to becoming a customer. It could be from like one phone representative to another. I mean, whatever it happens to be, we lose people in transitions in our businesses. And in theater, we could also lose people in transition. So in theater, we rehearse scene changes. We rehearse scene changes sometimes more than we rehearse the scenes. Because there's so many people, so many moving parts. There's sets, there's lights, there's costumes, there's props, there's actors moving on and off. There's an orchestra maybe playing, like whatever it happens to be. And those scene changes have to be fluid and smooth. Otherwise, the audience starts going to their phone. They start chatting. They disappear. It disrupts everything. And so in our businesses, we have to also be mindful of those transitions. And some of those transitions may be from one of your products to another product. It may be from completing an online course to going into a coaching program. It might be, between yoga classes or, whatever it happens to be. And so we really help people, like one of the key things we do is we really look at that journey and all those steps that people go through. And we look at what happens in the gaps, because in those gaps or transitions, we can really lose people. And so it's so important. And that's one of the things, again, it's like, it was this whole that's why I said it's so weird, right? It's like that Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off, paint the fence, sand the floor. My whole life, I was just kind of doing this and training. And when you apply it to this other world, you get like really cool results. And so, that's the secret, really, if you want to call it a secret.
Yeah. No, it makes all sense. And I've never heard that before, but I've not talked to one business owner that talks about transitions ever. And I've talked to thousands of business owners in the last 5 years. Nothing wrong with that. And I'm not talking to everybody, but to me, it tells me it needs to be done because nobody's talking about it except you.
Yeah, well, and it's important. And, one of the most important transitions is what we call onboarding, right? And we have employee onboarding. We also have customer onboarding. And so like that first transition, like first moments, the beginning is the most important part. That was a great quote from Plato, said that, a billion years ago, however long ago it was. And it's so important because we have, when we come into a business or come into a marketing, we hear marketing, we come into an experience, whatever it is, we have these cognitive biases. Our brain doesn't like to work hard, right? So it finds shortcuts so it doesn't have to burn calories, so it can have calories available for everything else. So if we had a bad experience before, we have these spidey sense that goes off that says, oh, this looks like that, I better be careful. Or, oh, this looks like that, so it probably means this. And so we're fighting all of that with our businesses when we're bringing people in. And so they have a preconceived notion about stuff. They also have buyer's remorse. They think, oh my gosh, should I have bought this? This is so much money. Or I've tried this before and it didn't work. What was I thinking? How am I going to be different now? Or they have a lack of confidence in themselves. I know other people can do it, but maybe I can't. Maybe I shouldn't have invested. And so all these things are going on. And so what I believe is that when people buy something from you, when they invest with you, it's an intention, not necessarily a commitment. And so our first job as a business, welcoming people into our business after they said yes, is to really cement that relationship and earn their commitment. And so that onboarding process is really about that. It's welcoming them in, earning the commitment, and setting them up for success. However, most of us look at it as an opportunity to dump all the logistics, all the housekeeping, all the stuff that they think they need to know, and we end up overwhelming them. And then the spidey sense goes off saying, this is just like the other one. Oh my gosh, what did I do? And they start, what's the guarantee? What's the refund period? How do I get out? And so like that's one of the most important transitions. And then from there, once we fine tune that, we have the next transition into getting them quick wins. How do we get them a win as close to the first moment that they stepped inside as possible? We call that time to first value. And the shortest that time is, the better. And so we look at these transitions and we try and shrink time to value between these steps so that people are moving forward. When people feel progress, when they feel momentum, they feel happy, they feel successful. And when we can start to see that in a rhythmic pattern, we start to feel that happening in a good cadence, all of a sudden, again, our confidence goes high, our commitment gets stronger, our determination is like, it's almost unshakable at that point. Yeah. And so it's our duty, I think, as business owners to really do that for our customers.
The intention, the commitment, audience. Think about that, because that's exactly what it is. Just because I sold them on my $10,000 coaching program for 6 months, I want them to go a year because that's how long it's going to take. They may quit in 3 months ago. I want a refund because I was more commitment. They weren't committed. They were intending to be committed. That's so good. I got the crowd. Here, they're going. Stop.
I love it.
This has been so awesome, this show. I want to get personal.
Yeah, let's do it.
Favorite part that I've wanted to ask. So quick story, audience. Jason's such a servant's heart, such a great, wonderful man. And he's got a liquor business, and he's got an old-fashioned clutch, I believe it's called, right? KLUT? No. What's it called?
It's Stolen X.
Stolen X. It's a cool branding. So he sent my wife a bottle. I don't drink. My wife, it's the greatest thing. So she can't stop talking about it. We're trying to figure out where to get it. That's talking about closer to commitment than intention. The intention of receiving it. Now she loves it. She's so committed. She's going to every store trying to find it, which is a whole different ballgame. But
yeah, we'll solve that problem later.
That's something we'll work on. But we'll find it. See, again, that's a customer that you made excited about the product, so you followed your formula. But how does Jason Friedman from CXFormula go to selling liquor or alcohol?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could take a little more credit for it than is actually due. But you know, when I sold one of my companies many years ago, and so it was a company that did this, right? So I did basically this, but I did it. It was all done for you. So we worked with big universities on helping them with massive fundraising campaigns, Stanford, Harvard, Yale, Duke, what have you. We worked with theme parks, Disney, Universal. We worked with retailers, Bank of America, Foot Locker, Armani. I mean, you name it, like any industry, didn't really matter. And we helped them with their experience, right? We helped them get customers more engaged, get customers, coming back for more, positive word of mouth, feedback, so on and so forth, raising more money for their endowments, for their causes, so on and so forth. And we got to a point where that business needed to take on some investment. We were so profitable and growing so quickly. We were on the Inc. list of fastest growing companies multiple years in a row for like exponential growth. And so we were profitable, but it was the growth, like adding more team, more offices, like we were expanding so rapidly, like from like 10 million to 40 million to like big jumps each year, where our cash flow was getting sucked into the growth. And so we had gone out to try and bring in some investors. And when we did that, we kind of had a bidding war, which was kind of fun experience. I didn't know anything about that at the time. And one of the companies was a large publicly traded company. And I met this guy. His name is Mark Bushala, amazing guy. Mark, if you're listening to this, hey. And Mark was trying to buy our company. And we didn't end up doing the deal with Mark. We ended up doing it with someone else. But Mark and I became really good friends. And Mark is a crazy, amazing entrepreneur. So he brought me into some other deals that he had. And one of the deals was some real estate stuff, but his real expertise was in hospitality and spirits. And so he started 3 or 4 different spirits companies that I was fortunate enough to be brought into as an investor and a partner, and Stolen is one of them. And so Stolen has a whiskey and has this kind of like old fashioned in a bottle, if you will, that's called Stolen X, and it is delicious, right? It's I know you didn't drink, your wife loves it, but it's yummy. And so right before the pandemic, like the marketing for that business, we had police cars that we bought that we wrote graffiti of Stolen all over the sides, and they were driving through towns to activate and getting people to start seeing it. We had T-shirts that said "This is Stolen" on the T-shirts and stuff, and started to really grow the brand very large there. So
yeah. Well, I'm going to do a service as you were talking. There it is, Stolen X. It's not here in San Jose. So if you're in New Jersey, Total Wine, there it is. And the whole reason I'm sharing this audience, you're probably going, oh, you're promoting. I'm promoting him, but you know what? What he did in the journey with my wife is what you're talking about for your customers. I'm not saying give your stuff away free, but you're kind. You're thanking to be on your podcast. But with that was, let me take my wife Melinda through the journey of Stolen X. Share with, go through that.
And what it was, I mean, not to go too deep into this, but folks, thank you for saying that and for sharing that. But really, it was like, how do I get to know Steve a little bit better? Like, tell me a little bit more about you. So as I learn about Steve and Melinda, then I'm able to start learning, how do I do something that's special for them, that's relatable to them, right? And it's not always a gift. It doesn't have to be money spent. It could have been a little note or a card. It could have been, there's 1,000,001 ways to do this, right? But the thinking, and as for you, so you like maybe apply this to something that you're doing, is how do you start to personalize the experiences for the actual humans that you're interacting with so that it's good for them? Because like not everyone's a receiving gifts person, right? Not everyone loves that. They might feel uncomfortable. They might not like that. Like some people just want, words of affirmation. So like the 5 Love Languages, which is a great book. I'm sure you know of it, and I'm sure people have talked about it on your show before. But like if you start to really think about what lands for people, and this is why like every avatar, every customer that goes through your business, it's not a one size fits all approach. You really do have to do what we call mass customize. So as you start to understand who your avatars are and the different ones, we actually look at the journey that they go on by avatar. And so the journey is not necessarily the same for every single customer. We try and tailor it so that everyone gets something out of it. And that's, I think, a really good example of it. There may have been a little bribery in there. Who knows? I'm not saying there was or there wasn't, but it was a pleasure to be able to know something about you guys and be able to do something that would be well received, and that there would be a feeling of, wow, thank you for taking a moment to get to know us, right? And build a longer term relationship.
Happy wife, happy life.
100%.
Thank you much,
always good advice.
And I tell you, audience, if you haven't realized, that logo is on our table. Somebody walked in and goes, what the heck is that? That is cool. And my wife went, it's an old fashioned. So branding's important. I just want to add that, how genius you are with that, and go through that journey. No, and I appreciate it. Let's get into the CX Formula. I don't want you to give the whole, if you want, it doesn't matter because they're going to need to hire you or your team to do it. But kind of take us through the journey of CX Formula. I have a company. I've hired you. What am I going to do?
Yeah, so we have basically 2 ways you can work with us in our company. Like I said, we have a done for you that's very limited. We don't have any slots even available for this year, so forget about that for the moment. But the 2 basic ways you can work with us, we have a done by you program. So I don't want to call it a course because I think it's so much more than a course, but what basically you and your team can kind of go through this. We've got an online learning portal that's gamified that allows you to kind of go through and have an experience like we're doing what we're teaching you to do. So you're going to experience what we're teaching and like learn how to do it. And we give you all the tools that you need to really understand, how do I take my business and grow and scale it by this kind of understanding of getting my customers results, obsessing over those results for my customers, building an experience that is unparalleled, enhancing my employee journey, so on and so forth. And so that program is one way to work with us. The other way is we do these intensives. So it's a 3-day deep dive where you and a couple of your team members come in and you're in a deep intensive with 9 other businesses, so 10 businesses together, and you go through this experience again. And similar to the done by you, this is done with you. So we walk through it. Our coaches are in there, and we literally take you on this journey. We hold your hand through it. We get you to a very solid place. So by the end of day 3, you're leaving with an entire, what we call a kinetic pathway. Like that is your enhanced customer journey that's optimized, that's removed friction, that has the momentum inducers placed throughout that, and an action plan of how to implement this and execute it in your business. And so those are basically the 2 ways that we are working with people today. And it's a lot of fun. Like these are we want people to learn a skill, but have fun doing it, right? Because for us, like if you're not engaged and you don't execute on it, it was a waste for me, right? Because I'm teaching how to keep engagement and get people results. If you're not getting results, then I'm no good. So we do everything in our power. We bring like 200%. You just got to bring your 50%, and we will pull you through the process. We will support you through the process because we have a mission, right? Our mission, similar to you, we believe that we make the world a better place, all working together. And so our working together is helping entrepreneurs grow and scale their businesses because they're creating financial freedom for themselves, for their families, they're bringing jobs for their team, and then the ripple effects of how they're helping their customers. Yeah. And so for my partner, Drew, and I, our greatest joy is seeing the breakthroughs that entrepreneurs have and their teams have when they're in our workshops, and they're seeing the path. Like when you see that aha, and they start to get excited, like one of my favorite testimonials, shameless plug, sorry, but one of my favorite testimonials from a client, it was a guy by the name of Ricardo Costa. He flew to New Jersey from Portugal to do our workshop, and he owns a tour boat company. So he takes people through the Douro River, through wine country up there. He's had the business, 20, 25 years, something like that. And he said about halfway through the workshop, he said to me, he's like, I've been doing this for over 20 years. He's like, I love my business. I love the idea of my business. I love my customers. He's like, but I've never been this excited about my business in my entire life.
Whoa.
And it just hit me I just felt so grateful that I get to do this work, that I get to work with these entrepreneurs, that I have the opportunity to serve in this way. And so that's what we love doing. So if you're an entrepreneur and you have a business and you want to grow it, you want to scale it, you want to start doing more one-to-many, be more profitable, but make a bigger impact, we can help you do that. That's what we do. That's who we love working with. And it's just, we believe that it's more important today than it ever has been because competition is fierce. AI is coming on. More and more businesses are trying to just throw more content out there, more stuff, more noise, more distraction. And people are racing to the bottom instead of really focusing on how do I create such value that people are willing to pay more and really be grateful for it. So
right in front of them. It's right in front of their nose.
100%.
It's the customer employee. And kudos to Ricardo. There's a quick lesson there as well. In 20 years, he decided to pivot. Of course, with your wonderful help, but he pivoted. Most people go 20 years. Why would you pivot? Well, things change in a business, right?
Well, and I'll say I wouldn't even say pivot. That's a strong word. He just, he enhanced, right?
Okay, perfect.
He looked at his business through a different lens and said, oh my gosh, there's more. Like he wasn't quite at the top of the mountain. You know that analogy? They talk about this analogy, like when you finally get to the top of the mountain, you see there's more mountains. He hadn't gotten to the top of the mountain and he was stuck. He got plateaued, Steve. And so for many of us out there, maybe you're stuck at $1 million in revenue, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, 10 million, doesn't matter. But you've been there for a while and you're like, all right, it's good enough. Like that's where he was. It's good enough. And then something inside him, he heard me speaking to a mastermind and he got excited and he got motivated and he's like, you know what? I owe it to my customers to do better. He just got that, it hit him in a certain way. He told me that too. And so, but what was so, and it's been amazing for him. Like the stories of what's happening now. And he sends me like screenshots of testimonials from his customers on it. It's amazing. Like I love all of that. But what was more exciting for me was like, he was doubling down on his passion and his excitement. And, you know, he's been doing this for a long time. And now he's like a kid in a candy store and he's excited. He wants to go to work every day, even more. And so how cool is that? Like just to play a little role in that, like that says it all for me, you know?
It's one of the best business stories I've heard in a while
Thanks,
because of the fact that he was so interested, you know, just passion. Because that's what you're passionate about what you do. It's obvious after 52 minutes, you know, there's passion. You know, I'm passionate about what I do.
100%.
And that's where it goes. And a shout out to Dr. Jean, who I met this week, and he's a professor and tells students, they'll go, you know, what are you going to do? And, you know, one person says, Google, I want to make $250,000, 300,000 a year. That's great. But what's your passion? Well, I love floral. I'd love to be a florist. Then do that. Why would I do that when I could be an engineer here? He says, because if you don't have passion in what you do, it's not long-term. You just can't sustain that. Something's going to happen like what happened with this gentleman. He needed more passion brought in, which is kind of what you do. Now, is this virtual and in person? Meaning, would you go to I always use plumber. I don't know why I keep doing it, but say a plumber in California's got 5 locations and he wants to increase his customer enhancement. You would come out and do the walkthroughs and customer experience and hear it?
All great questions. So, the done by you is virtual, right? It's training online, it's coaching through Zoom, you know, that kind of interaction. However, we send you like this box, this kit of amazing stuff, so that when you're starting to map it out, it is a very in-person exercise that you do with your team at home, and we send you physical stuff. Like we're not going to have you like sitting there with an Excel sheet trying to figure it out. You're going to be like up on your feet, like mapping and, you know, what have you. So there's plenty of stuff to make it engaging and give you all the tools you need. That's like, you could be anywhere in the world and do it that way, right? The workshops, boot camps, intensives, whatever you want to call them that we do, right? Those are here in New Jersey mostly. And so you would come into town, generally speaking, it's 3 people from a business come. It could be 2. I don't love when it's 1 because you need your team there. But they come in and they work with us for 3 days. So they'll come in on night 0. We have a welcome reception. And then there's 3 days of the experience and they go home either at the end of night 3 or the morning of day 4. And that's amazing. Now, the other service that I said that we just can't do right now, that's where we would go out to the plumber and we would secret shop and whatever. You don't need that. I'm not saying that it's a great service. It's amazing. You don't need that. What you need is to do the work either one of these ways. Some people, it's amazing to get in a room for 3 days and walk out with it done because that is the way you like to learn. I'm an immersion guy. I love that. I have friends that like love to like do it on their own pace and they do watch parties with an online thing and that's it. So we have it both different ways, whichever way. The good thing about the way we do it is either way you choose, you will have an experience going through it. You're going to learn at this. There's a meta level where we're showing you how to do the things that we're teaching you to do. We're doing them to you and we're unpacking them with you so that you feel it, you understand it, and you sense, oh, that actually is cool. Like that makes good sense. Like, oh, here's how I could tweak it in my business, right? So that's pretty much how it works. And you know, the other nice thing that we do with our done by you, our course, our virtual program, is we give you a bunch of seats. So we typically will give you 5 licenses for the price of 1, so that much of your team can come in and be part of it. Because for us, the more you get this built in, like we teach you how to make this part of the DNA of your business. We want the culture of your company to evolve a little bit. Now, you may have an amazing culture. We want to add this to it. You may have a slightly less amazing culture. We want to help you tweak that because it's going to be the difference between massive success and a little success, right? So this is all baked in.
No, I love it. We're coming out at the end of time. What's the website people can find us?
Yeah, come to www.cxformula.com and would love to talk to you if you have some interest. And yeah, thanks, man.
This is awesome. Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Steve.
Appreciate it. Thank you all for watching. If you didn't get a chance to catch this, there's a recording as well. And we'll see you next week on the next episode of Together We Serve. See you all. Have a great weekend.